prime Aaron Rodgers. Prime Aaron Rodgers, and I agree with what Big Ben said in there. Prime Aaron Rodgers is probably the greatest we've ever seen play the quarterback spot. And I don't care nothing about no Super Bowls, none of that.
Yeah, they don't matter.
Talk about playing the game of football. Prime Aaron Rodgers was cold-blooded. We talking about 4-time MVP. That means you are the best player in the National Football League. He has 4 of them. Not only that, turn your eyeballs on. All these quarterbacks we watch now, they want to throw like Aaron Rodgers, inside the pocket, outside the pocket. They are looking for that Aaron Rodgers. He changed the way you play the game at the quarterback spot from outside the pocket, for sure, throwing this football. Aaron in his prime was absolutely special. There was nobody better, in my humble opinion, to do it in Aaron's prime than Aaron Rodgers. And I don't care anything about them Super Bowls. Shady, McCoy.
That's right. That's right.
I know Acho with me, because Acho played against this boy.
That's your opinion. I mean,
that's my opinion,
he don't care about championships. He don't get them championships. We don't play for that.
We do. He got one. We do play for that. But, man.
You can go. I'm going to go last. Yeah, I'm going to go last.
I don't think anybody's better than prime Aaron Rodgers.
Thank you, sir.
I just don't. Again, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't think anybody's better than prime Aaron Rodgers. First off, Aaron Rodgers has a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP. So it's not as though Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a Super Bowl nor Super Bowl MVP. And I think he won those before his prime. I had to play against Aaron Rodgers, so you could say I'm biased. Aaron Rodgers could throw different. Aaron Rodgers could run well enough to make him be able to run different. Aaron Rodgers, from a platform perspective, one is different. Aaron Rodgers between the ears, different. Remember, Aaron Rodgers has 48 touchdown passes in one season and like 4 interceptions in the same season, beautiful people. In the same season. Mahomes goes crazy, crazy. Mahomes will likely end up being the second best, if not the best of all time. But if you're talking peak, Aaron Rodgers also did this with the head coach who we don't know how good he is outside of Aaron Rodgers. Remember, Andy Reid, outside of Patrick Mahomes, went to 4 straight conference championship games, including a Super Bowl. Like, Andy Reid has already proven himself as well. There's nobody, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes, Terry Bradshaw, John Elway, Joe Namath. There is nobody, in my estimation, like prime Aaron Rodgers. Not like Aaron Rodgers,
silly.
But there's nobody like prime Aaron Rodgers.
This is really, like, seriously, we should do a podcast. This is podcast talk. Podcast talk is you just speak your opinion, right, with no real facts to back it up. Because if Aaron Rodgers is so great, how y'all say he is in his prime, how is it possible for you to only have 1 Super Bowl appearance?
Team success.
Well, that's what quarterbacks do. The greats we talk about,
They win championships.
they win championships. That's why we play the game. All the greats in basketball that we talk about, that's driving the bus, they so great. To say that if Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or LeBron James, right? Because y'all say he's the greatest of all time in his prime, right?
In his prime, yes, yeah.
Imagine them dudes in a prime only even seeing the finals 1 time. That's embarrassing. And Big Ben, I don't really take a lot of these big, because Ben hates.
He's 2-time Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, one thing about Big Ben, you play 18 years, you have no all-pros, not one first team, not one second team.
The championship.
This is just me. I don't respect players that talk about greats a certain way, and you have nowhere the type of...
That is so funny, because he literally just went on a whole R. You literally just, oh my God, athletes going to athletes sometimes. He literally just went on a whole rant about, winners win and great players win. That's what quarterbacks do. And then you have Ben Roethlisberger doing that, winning multiple Super Bowls, but then you're like, wow, he didn't have any all-pros. He didn't do this, didn't that? And it's like, but Aaron Rodgers has that, but he didn't win a Super Bowl, or he only went once during his prime, or, whatever exactly phrasing he wanted to use in his twisted argument. So it's just like, well, then that doesn't actually make any logical sense, but okay, sure. Man, that is rich. That is hilarious. And like, I guess on podcasts you don't bring the facts, but on the shows you bring the facts. Like, come on. What are we doing here, man? Come on. That's too good. Needed that. I needed that. Okay, let's have a real converse. Let's have a real conversation now. Let's have a YouTube conversation. Podcast, that's for no facts. TV, just whatever. But YouTube is where it's real. That's where it's real. Man, where do you even begin? I'm going to try to answer this question in the most narrow way possible and then maybe try to work outwards. Because I do want to just be like zoom in to just the most perfect elite moments of Aaron Rodgers' career and then say, would you have that version of Aaron versus Patrick Mahomes? And the reality is, though, Aaron Rodgers is special. And I think a lot of people do forget that and don't realize that. I feel as though so much of Aaron Rodgers, by the time everything really felt like it was just spread out everywhere. Everyone had a smartphone. Everybody was online. YouTube, especially other social media platforms, like Aaron Rodgers was already kind of starting to, don't want to say slow down, but it was just different. And then when things really started to explode, like online again, YouTube, any of the social media platforms, again, just having it all, everyone just having it being on their phones, 365, 24/7. That is when now the Patrick Mahomes of the world, the Josh Allen, the Mars, like they now entered the equation. And it does feel like we are in like this peak connectivity of like we're having football conversations now just nonstop, 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 nonstop. And I feel as though that Aaron Rodgers peak, we really kind of missed that. And that was the benefit of Tom Brady. He lingered a little bit for a couple years. He won a Super Bowl, probably technically 2 Super Bowls in this era that I'm talking about, you know, one with the Patriots. And then one, of course, with the Bucks. And so it was just like he was able to really kind of be that bridge to all of this to be like, no, see, he's been the truth from day one. And Aaron Rodgers seemingly kind of missed that. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, what he won his Super Bowl in like, what was it, like 2010 or something, 2011, something in that general area. I have to forget, you know, have to remember exactly. And it just wasn't, you know, the constant NFL conversations and the constant highlight rolls that we see 365, it just wasn't there yet. And now I know he won MVPs in that era, but now it was during a time when it was like they don't care about that. It's all about rings, right? Especially once, you know, Tom Brady wins that other ring with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. To me, as soon as Tom Brady won that ring with Tampa Bay, it really solidified. Like it's all about ring after ring after ring after ring. Because before that, there were real conversations. Make no mistake about it. Even on First Things First, Nick Ray, I reviewed that video, a clip of his a million years ago, a clip that he made that he had a million years ago on First Things First, and I did it like last year. I think JCT Slice told me about the clip, and like you can see what he was saying about Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, like they were real conversations, and it wasn't controversial. It was like an acceptable opinion to have that, like, oh, actually Aaron Rodgers is better, but Tom Brady wins more rings and this or that. And it wasn't like just this binary, you win the rings or you don't. And then once Tom Brady won, it was like solidified. It was like, no, it's all about the rings. You got to win the rings. You got to have 4, 5, 6 rings. That's what it is. Boom. Done. End of conversation. And then that's what it's really kind of spiraled into. And so any type of momentum that Aaron Rodgers maybe had, it was like, he choked up, can't win the NFC. Oh, he chokes, can't win, can't do this, can't do that. He only has 1 ring. And it was like, that was not really held against him. I mean, nobody was truly holding this. Peyton Manning won twice. I mean, he won twice. He's got 2 rings. He's got the same number of rings as Eli Manning. I mean, think about it. Think about how much better Peyton Manning is over Eli Manning. And yet they both have 2 Super Bowl rings. And he wasn't even the MVP in both of them. And so it's just like it really goes to show you. And yet, like, so Aaron Rodgers will be criticized for only having like 1 ring, but Peyton Manning is like, it's okay because he got 2, and that second one, like, he was not great, obviously. I mean, even just in the Super Bowl itself, but that whole season, I mean, Brock Osweiler was like taking over. So it is weird how we want to have some of these conversations, which is why I don't want to look at it through that lens. I'm not looking at it through the lens of winning rings, who plays winning football or something. It's like I'm just trying to reduce it to the skill set itself. Now, the reality is it's hard for me to look beyond Aaron Rodgers the person. And I defend Aaron Rodgers the person in terms of like all the stuff that he does off the field and all that. It's like I don't care. People are so obsessed with all that. I'm not. But I do care how you're going to interact with coaching. And so I'm going to look at it through this lens now of like Andy Reid's your coach. Andy Reid is your head coach. who would you rather have as a quarterback, Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes? And I'm going to pick Patrick Mahomes because I believe that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, obviously, as we've seen it, but even if I didn't know it, I would be confident that they are going to work better than Aaron Rodgers would work with Andy Reid. Aaron Rodgers would somehow have a disagreement with Andy Reid. He would be the one quarterback that somehow manages to pretend like Andy Reid is not a great coach. You would find some way to do it. But what I do think is impressive was that these older quarterbacks played in such a more defensively driven era, and the types of balls that they had to throw. Like Tom Brady has talked about this at length, that the balls that he threw late in his career, he would have never thrown earlier in his career because his receivers would have been knocked out of games. And he talked about that. His one, I forget which one now, but like his record-breaking touchdown, I think it was, or he's done so much over the years, obviously, but was when he was with the Bucks, and he was like, that throw earlier in my career with the Patriots, I would have never even considered throwing the ball. And so football fundamentally changed for these quarterbacks, something that Lamar Jackson, Allen, Patrick Mahomes have all benefited from and never had to change, never played any other way. And you're in this, not only were the roles different, but it was such a defensive era where having a defensive head coach was a massive advantage. A massive advantage. You can make the argument that maybe Tom Brady would have put up better numbers or something if they prioritized offense with an offensive head coach, but would have won less because defense had so much more of a say in whether you won or lost. And that's why then Andy Reid was able to really rise to the occasion, and Bill Bitch kind of slipped away because it was like, no, like the tides have changed, and Colin Cowherd has, I think, done a good job at discussing that, and I think his point is very accurate with regards to that. And now things are starting to slowly bounce back out. Now it kind of feels like, before it was like defense. And again, to make no mistake about it, during a defensive era, you still need offense. And during an offensive era, you still need some defense, right? It's not this all or nothing thing, but it does feel things are becoming a little bit more balanced than they had been. We were in this offensive pass happy, oh my gosh, 5,000 yards, million touchdowns, go. It was almost kind of felt like what happened with basketball, where it was like, it's threes or nothing, baby. Threes are nothing. And it's like, well, actually, passing the ball is really important. Defense is really important. Layups are pretty important. Mid-range is pretty important. Getting to the free throw line and, knocking down free throws is pretty important. So, we're kind of going full circle with all of this. And that's why it's always a little bit difficult to kind of compare all of these quarterbacks because they're all in just such wildly different situations. Playing Aaron Rodgers for the bulk of his career played with different rules, literally different and fundamental rules. How you can hit the quarterback, how you can tackle someone, in the middle of the field. Like, it's just like, things are fundamentally different to the point where everybody freaked out when the NFL was making those changes. They were freaking out just where you got the ball on a kickoff, where you kick a field goal, where you kick an extra point. Like, this fundamentally changed the NFL. Not to mention then just the whole philosophy of saying we're going to go for it on fourth down, which now changes how we call third down. Like, all of this matters when kind of factoring this all in. So I do think if Aaron Rodgers came into the NFL during this era, he would be even better than he was. And it would be fascinating to see. It really would be. But if I just had to choose, and like I said, I'm going to, if I zoomed in and I'm like, I have an amazing team and a great roster and a great culture, who do I want? It's like, I feel so much more comfortable with Patrick Mahomes leading that team than I would Aaron Rodgers. If you want to say who throws a better ball, who can pick apart a defense more, it's like, okay, that's all well and good. And it's like, and then this would be the interesting question where it's like, if you had a bad team, I always like to do this. It's like, if you have a bad team and an average coach, who would you rather have? And it's like, we have seen Aaron Rodgers with not bad coaching, but like good coaching. I think Mike McCarthy is a good coach. I don't think he's great or elite, but he's obviously a good coach, a competent coach. You're like, okay, they obviously had success there, and I don't think anyone could really say that Aaron Rodgers was on a stacked roster. I don't think that's fair. And he never, famously consistently had top defenses. What did he only have one year? He had a top 10 defense, and that was the year that they won the Super Bowl. Surprise, surprise. And so, yeah, I don't know. These conversations on one side, they can be a lot of fun. On the other side, they can just be kind of messy, which is why it's like, I kind of do this with the list when we talk about like, oh, where do you rank quarterbacks? It's like I enjoy picking apart the logic more than I do trying to figure out what the actual ranking is. And in this, it's like I kind of enjoy picking apart why a question like this is like, or a statement like this is a lot harder to answer than people realize, as well as like, well, can we actually really in good faith compare these quarterbacks to each other? And it's just, again, things are so fundamentally different. But that's why it's like, if I'm going to force myself to play this game, I will pick Patrick Mahomes just because I trust a franchise. I trust that I can build around Patrick Mahomes so much more effortlessly and smoothly than I could ever build around Aaron Rodgers. And even if we're talking about strictly on the field, like it becomes so hard because, we've seen Aaron Rodgers with Mike McCarthy, and Patrick Mahomes has had Andy Reid. But at the same time, I think Aaron Rodgers would be better with Andy Reid. But I'm not confident that he would have gotten along with Andy Reid over a stretch period of time. So it's just like, that's why it's like my answer is Patrick Mahomes. Not only because he's great, but just because at the end of the day, I trust him as a quarterback more. I also, and this will be my final point, when the chips are really down, I trust Patrick Mahomes to truly go for it and let it rip and take the risk, and, no risk, no reward. That was not Aaron Rodgers, and that was a lot of criticism that he had in the playoffs, that he was conservative, that he wouldn't be aggressive, that he wouldn't be assertive, that you got to risk some turnovers and some interceptions to get the ball down the field. You do got to be a little bit of Brett Favre, that it's too much on the other side. And again, you got to like really go back in time and watch some of those games to really try to, to really try to find the truth, because in truth, I only remember so much. And any of my memories at this point would probably be relying on the context of shows like this from like 2013, 2014. And it's like I no longer really trust that context, I really don't. So it's like one of those things that I'd have to go back. But and maybe it's recency bias for me seeing Patrick Mahomes play great right now and seeing what's become of Aaron Rodgers, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, I got to go with Mahomes. It's a weird thing for me to say. I know I'm the biggest Mahomes hater. Gosh, I just hate Mahomes. I'm actually only saying Mahomes, just to save face, right? That's actually the truth. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about taking Aaron Rodgers in his prime over Patrick Mahomes? That's also interesting too. Patrick Mahomes today. Is Patrick Mahomes in his prime today? But let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much.